Okay. All right, guys. Good, good. I think I got it right. I had some problem with that. So, welcome for showing up. So many. Metto giù. And what I would like to do today is to go over this method here with you, right? So this is the original work, right? That I copied this figure from this photograph here, right? Then once the drawing was done, I put the skeleton inside like this, right? And then over it I put the muscles. This is the time-honored Albertian system that originated during the Renaissance, right? Let's see now if we can do something similar with another figure, maybe, right? Actually, why don't we use this figure here? We already have this figure, right? Let's use this figure here, and I'm gonna redraw it. So you redraw this figure here, right? Take a piece of paper. Vellum. And then we're gonna block in the proportion, the figure of this model here, right? How do we do it? All right, with the Albertian system, we are going to, let me see if I can get this back a little bit more. There you go, like that, right? With the Albertian system, we need to have access to landmarks, right? The landmarks are divided in two categories. One is the bony landmarks, those connected with the skeleton, and are those that are visible. The point where the skeleton is visible, see that, on the outside. So that's the clavicle or collarbone. That's the jugular fossa, the top of the sternum. That's kind of visible. Let's say head of the head of the humerus, right? The costal arch, the iliac spine, etc., etc. So once we find all these landmarks, we can reconstruct the skeleton, right? And start putting the muscle on top of it. Now I want to copy this figure from the, as if we're doing a figure drawing, right? So we block in here the volume of the head like this. It's going to be arbitrary. I decide how big this should be, right? Then I want to see how many times the head fits into the body, right? And that will give you the ratio head to body. So usually for most people it's 1 to 7.5, right? Let's see now. I see the hairline here, so that's the big top of the head. I see the chin. I take this measurement like this, see that? Like this, right? And then I see how many times this fits in here, right? 1, 2, just above the nipple, 3 at the navel, just above the navel, 4 at the genitals, 5, 6, 7, 7.25, right? 7.25. All right, so I take this, which I totally decided, right, how big this is, right? The size of the head, it's my decision. I could make the head this big or this big. The important thing is the ratio, right? So this is 1 now, right? Then we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.25. So this is the ratio head to body of my figure, right? I'm gonna draw a little bit darker because I'm afraid you're not gonna see this otherwise, right? This. Then now we start looking at landmarks, right? One head now, remember, we're just above the nipples, right? So I can mark here. The nipples are about here like this, right? The navel was about here, right? Like this. and then the genitals are about here. So from here to here, I have the legs, right? So blocking now a little more information. I'm going to eyeball the neck, the length of the neck. See that? Length of the neck here, right? Let's say it's gonna be like this. We could measure it, right? But we can also eyeball it. So the nipples are here, right? And if I bring these up, I see they are about this, at this level in the face. So one nipple is here, right? And one nipple is outside, right, of the head here. All right, so this is the nipple, therefore the breasts are gonna be about here and here, right? So the navel is here, right? And we see that the navel, if I bring it up, is about at this level here, right, like this. So that's the navel. So I find jugular fossa, right, nipples, navel, right? So we've seen that the bony landmarks are those that where the skeleton is palpable, is visible outside the figure, right? The soft landmarks are those that are connected, that are on the surface. So they're going to be the navel, the inguinal ligament, the linea alba, etc. So now here I would have the sternum, right, going down this, about this way down to the in between the breasts, right here. Maybe this is a little bit more outside. And then from here it goes down straight. And then from here it goes down to, see that, 1, 2, 3 here. Now this is going to be, now I can eyeball it, right? The rib cage, see that? And I want to draw this very loosely, right? So I'm looking at the space between the navel and the side of the body here and here. This is bigger, this is smaller, right? And this is now the genitals, right? So now, if I have this, the figure start becoming a little bit more defined. Actually, the axial skeleton, the trunk start becoming a little bit more visible, right? And now see here the arm, right? Down like this arm down like that. But I don't want to work on the arms now. I want to work on the legs, because the legs will give me the length of the pose, and they will give me the balance, right? So I know the figure ends here, right? Because we measure the ratio, right? Ends here like this, right? Where is now, how can I position the feet properly, right? Look at this, right? Look at the heel. Why? Because this is visible, it's in front, right? And I have good access to it. So I bring this up like this, right? See that? And it cuts in the genitals, cuts next to the navel, and here, to the side of the face. So here, 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 and that's the foot, right? The foot ends up here. So now I would have from here to here the leg, but the leg is bent, so this part of the leg goes slightly in compared to the vertical, and then from here it goes down this way, and that's the heel, and that's the foot. Now from here we do this, right, like this, and goes out like that. Makes sense? So now I have the figure. At this point, I'm not really concerned about getting this exactly the way she is in terms of organic form. I just need to measure where things are, right? Later, these are basically these are measuring lines, right? Now, from here to here, see the change of angle between here and here, right? That is the passage between the upper arm and the forearm. So what is that? Just a level at the end of the rib cage, so here, or a little bit higher than the navel here, right? So that is where I had the change of angle here. And where does it end? The wrist is at the level of the genitals here, right? That's the wrist, right? So now here we have another change of angle here, right? See that? Here. And from here we go out like this, right? And the wrist, similarly, arrives here at the genitals, a little bit higher than that, right? So here. Hand, right? I have a hand, I draw it as a paddle, right? Then I divide this in half, palm and fingers, and then I have now the thumb. This is now the hand like this, down like this, right? And now we can even make it a little bit longer, this leg in here, right? We change this measurement because we can change the measurement based on our aesthetic intention or how we like the figure to look like, or like this, right? Let's come down like this, right? Or because we make a mistake, we just can't change this as much as we want, right? At this stage, right? So here's the heel. Okay, now what we do, as you can see, this is a measuring phase, right? We capture the pose loosely. Normally, I would spend more time on this, but today, for this demo, I want to go through the steps of going from figure drawing to skeletal, etc. Now I'm going to clean up this, right? I'm going to clean up this a little bit more. And let me enlarge here, right? Let me enlarge this a little bit more. You should be able to see it better now, right? Okay, so now we're going to go over the figure in a little bit more detail, right? So the neck, oh, let me see, I have a question, right? I have a question, let me see if I can answer your question, right? So this is, forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Malsahli. Is it possible to mix pencil and charcoal in drawing portraits? So you can, but if it's part of your well-practiced, well-rehearsed technique. I have colleagues that are very good at doing that, but normally, unless you have a good understanding of both a medium, it can be problematic because the charcoal is shiny when you're done with this. The charcoal is matte, right? It's opaque. It's not shiny. The graphite tend to have a shiny glow, so the two don't really work well together. So I would stick with one or the other, and then practice that mixing the two medium as a personal technique, and don't experiment when you had to do a commission. So for example, you had to do a painting for somebody and you want to sell it, don't experiment with that. Experiment on your own works, see if you can reach a good understanding of the mixing technique, because that would be mixed media. And then once you achieve good results, then you can use that technique for works that you can sell, right? But I wouldn't mix them generally, right? The second question is Bagas, I think. I'm having trouble drawing her lower body. The shape of the thigh and knee a bit confused me. Okay, any tips? All right, so we're gonna go over this, right? We're gonna go over this as we go down like this, right? So as I block this, right? I'm drawing in a very in angular shape, right? So this breast is a little bit lower like this, meaning if you look at the breast in here, it's going to go down, not almost straight like this. Then from here, it goes up at an angle like this, and then up like this, right? So I break it down in angles, right? Here, here, here like this, like this, right? Now here, the clavicle goes down slightly at an angle like this, and I see now here, actually it's a bit lower, this clavicle a little bit lower, right? So this is, as we go over, the figure like this now, we review every mark and we make it a little more precise. So from here to here, right? See this triangle? There's a triangle there. See that here? So I'm going to try to replicate this triangle here like this, right? And from here we go down like that, right? And you go out like this. I see very little of the deltoid, right? Very little of the deltoid past this is the pectoralis, right? Past the pectoralis, right? This is now the pectoralis, and the deltoid is here like this, right? Now here I have the upper arm, forearm, like this, right? So now, rib cage, when you see the rib cage, right, the end of the rib cage is, of course, where we see this narrowing here, right? At this point in here, we want to think that this line curve here will communicate with the other one on the other side. So when I draw the rib cage, or I draw the hips, or I draw anything for that matter, when I draw one side of that specific part of the body, I also immediately go look at the other parts, so that I have a structural coherence between the two parts, right? So if you notice this, this narrowing here at the waist is always a little bit higher than the navel. The navel is a little bit lower than that. It's pretty much always there, right? On the standing figure, that is. Now here we have the external oblique, right? External oblique, this bumpy here is the external oblique, right? Here and here, see that external oblique in here. So I could tell that the hips are probably, looks slightly higher, right? Because this point in here, see this line here, the line of the external oblique, and this is the line of the external oblique over the iliac crest. When these two converge, I have the iliac spine. So this looks slightly lower than that, right? Meaning the pelvis is going to be slightly at an angle like this, right? Like this. So now, I'm looking at my figure, and I see that this space in here looks short in my drawing. So I'm going to change it, right? I'm going to change it. This is something that you want always to be ready to do. If you measure, and then as you draw, you see that there is some problem with the measuring, change it. Don't stick with it because you measure it, right? The measurement you've seen is very, approximative. We do this, right? So as now we get in more details, right, in terms of proportion, etc. If this looks too short, right, I move it down a little bit, and eventually I move down the feet also to maintain the same proportional relationship. So we can do this now. Compare the two halves, right? The upper half and the lower half. So let's see how big is the upper half, meaning from here to the pubic bone. The pubic bone is here, just at the top of the triangular genitals, here like this, right? And then I bring it down, and that is pretty much at the level of the toe. So if I do it here now, this is the top of the triangle, right? From here to here, I bring it down, and now, yeah, it's good. It's good there, so I'll leave it there, right? I'll leave it there. So now, I have a little bump in here. That's important because this is the top of the iliac crest. So that's the iliac crest here and the iliac crest here. So now I have an idea where the pelvis begins, here and here, right? And now you can see I need to lower the genital because look at this, right? See that here? See the genital a little lower than that, right? So this is too short. So I'm going to move it even lower, right? Like this, right? Until I have a better, a more similar proportion, right? So now the leg will start about halfway between the pubic bone and the iliac spine, right? Here and here. So here. So blocking here, right? And you can see a little bit here, this volume here, right? And this volume here like this, right? And that would be the thigh. So now, this leg, I made it 2 angles. See that? Compared to a vertical line. That's what I do when I need to appreciate angles. I imagine a line here, like this, right? And if I put the line, vertical line here, you see how narrow that is, right? That is much narrower, right? Much narrower. So I need to make this space smaller. So this thigh is going to go down like this, right? And this is also tapering, right? So this is for the question of Bagas, right? The shape of the thigh and knee, right? So quickly, thighs, I'm gonna draw it here, right? The thighs, you can see the thighs as a volume like this, right? This, right? This is now the inguinal ligament, that's the pubic bone, that's the genitals, right? So now here, the thigh will taper, right, as it goes down like this. The inside tends to be straighter with a little bit of volume eventually here, and the outside tends to go in, tapering like this. At this point in here, I block in, which is halfway the length of the total leg, I block in the box of the knee, right, box of the knee. And from here, I draw another volume, which is the lower leg. This is it, right? So now, how long is, so now I cut this in half, right? The box of the knee in half, like this. Then I take this segment in here, right? This segment in here is the same as this, including the feet. So I take this, and bring it down, and that's the foot is here. The foot is here. Now here I can add the volume of the calf, like this, see that? And then the shin. So now I have the knee, like this, right? And if you look at the knee, right, on a front view, you're going to have the lateral margin of the knee straight, and the inside at an angle like this, right? So you're gonna see this kind of change of angle, 1, 2, 3. That's the geometry of the leg, right? So from here now, I'm going to create a volume here, right? That's the calves. And going down like this, I'm gonna taper this, right? Taper this, because this is where I have the bulk of the muscle, right? And this is where the muscle becomes tendon to go to the toes. And this is the foot. So consider always this geometry of the leg. Once you have this, right, you can start from the iliac spine up here like this, right? And from here, right, the iliac spine will be this, right? Actually, let me show you the iliac spine, right? Okay, so this is the pelvis, right? This right here is this, right? That's the iliac spine, and this is the inguinal, where I have the inguinal ligament, right? That's the pubic bone. The genitals are gonna be here, below this, right? So now from here, I draw a line that, like this. It goes across the thigh like this, right? And it will connect with the shin. That's the tibia, that's the shin, and it's a malleolus. So you have this fluidity like this, right? Then we block in the rectus femoris here in the middle. We block in the adductus group, right? The adductus is this big group of muscle here on the inside of the thigh, basically this, right? And that's the tendon of the adductus, right? This is the adductus, right? And then we have here the vastus lateralis, like that. So vastus medialis, rectus femoris, and vastus lateralis, right? And this is the tendon of the bicep. So that's how you block in the main volume of the leg. So knowing that, thank you for the question, right? Oh, another question, lobo lunar, add the fat in the hip, right? We're gonna look at that later, right? But the fats on the body will have, will create many form, many shape, depending how much fat you have. But usually the fat, actually I can block it in here. Usually the fat in women will deposit here like this, right? And here like this. So you would have, this would be fat. And here like this. Whereas in men, you tend to deposit in this area here, right? But if you, once you block in the figure like this, when you see in the model a change of a sharp or clear change of angle between here and here, right? And here. this is the fat where it stops, and that is the muscle. This can be bigger, right? Or can be just barely visible, right? So you see the fat can be just barely visible like this, right? Like this, right? Depend, but usually the fat will collect in this area here. And more and more, right, depending on how much somebody weighs, right? Hope that helps you with the answer. Now, this is the genital, right? You see there is a sharp tendon here, right? There's a sharp tendon here, right? That tendon is the tendon of the adductors. Now I'm going to move the knee down because I moved the genital down. I move the knee down, and now I have the, first I can draw the leg tapering like this, right? Like I did for that tapering. And then, once I have this, right? So this, just to give you an idea of the proportion, the typical proportion, right? This, the leg from the root of the leg to the top of the knee is about 2 heads. So let's see if I have it, right? 1 and 2. Okay, that looks good. So the knee is going to be down here, and now from here I want to block in the same measurement below there, so the feet are going to be a little bit lower here like this, right? I'm going to change it. Always line up the same way, but they're going to be about here like this. So now that's the knee, right? Now when we have this, we're going to see that there is here a tendon that is narrow, and then a swelling of the adductors, right? Here, and then a tapering of the leg like that, like this, right? So here's the knee, right? We're blocking the knee like this, right? And you see how below the volume of the kneecap, the patella, there is a V. See that V there, right? That's the knee, right? And that's the patella. So below that volume, there is a V like this, and that's a tuberosity of the tibia, right? So now here I have a widening of the calves. Where is the widening of the calf? The widening of the calf in here, where the calves start becoming visible, below the knee. See that? That's the knee, below the knee. Don't make it higher because it will look weird if you do that, right? Now, widening here, it's the tibialis, right? And then goes down like this. From here goes out like this, right? And then goes down like this, right? So it tapers. At the ankle, we have this swelling, change of direction, right? And then I draw the foot. When I draw the foot, I want to draw first a sphere, right? Then, look at this now, right? See, if you imagine a line like this here, see that angle there, right? See that angle there? I try to copy the angle. I don't try to copy the foot. Copy the angle in relation to the horizontal line, a little bit more, right? And now here, I'm going to block in the wedge of the foot. Just the wedge, right? It's sufficient for now, right? So now, hope this is visible. Yeah. So now we have here this is the external oblique. See that here, like this, right? External oblique, and then we have now the gluteus here, like this, right? Now on the other side, we're going to have the narrowing here of the external oblique. And then here is the hips right here, and this is trochanter, right? This is the beginning of femur. From here we go down like this with a nice curved line like this, and you see that about a little bit higher, right, than the knee here, right? I can eyeball that here. I have now the other knee here, and notice how this part in here creates a very evident step here, down like this, right? And then now the swelling of the tibialis, see that that's the tibialis here and here, right? Tibialis. And then this goes down behind this leg, and that's the other foot, right? Now the feet, you can see, are 90 degrees, right? In perpendicular to each other, right? So now we can find more landmarks, right? Let's find more landmark. We're gonna draw the skeleton inside here, right? So let's go over them, right, quickly, right? So this is the brow ridge, right? That's the nose, that's the mouth, eyes are going to be here, and then the ears, right, like this, right? And of course the hair, right, like that, right? So now, here, I have the jugular fossa, which is the top of the sternum, right? And the clavicle or the collarbone converge there, like this. So now I'm going to get the blue pencil, and I'm going to draw over here the skeleton, right? Actually, let's do this first. Let's block in the landmarks. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then 5. This is the costal arch. That the costal arch. And then we have the head of the humerus, 1 and 2, right? That's the end of the rib cage, here and here, right? And then that's the iliac spine, that's the iliac spine, and this is the iliac crest, right? Pubic bone is here, above the triangle of the genital, just here, right? Then I have here, the end of the humerus, here. This is the medial epicondyle, and that's, we don't see the lateral epicondyle, and this is the medial epicondyle, and that gives me the end of the humerus. Here, I have the wrist, and the wrist, right, where the hand begins, right, here's the wrist. So this is the length of the forearm, right, length of the forearm, length of the upper arm, and that's the finger. So this hand is going to be like this, down like this, and then the thumb, like that. So now, the kneecap, right, that's another important landmark. That's the trochanter. When I see this pointy part in here like this, right, this change of angle here, that's the trochanter, right? We're going to see later when I block in the pelvis, right? This is the knee, the other knee. That point in here at the bottom of the V is the tuberosity of the tibia. This is the shin, and this is now, actually I'm going to draw them red, right? Here, 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 here. And this is the shin, and this is the medial malleolus, the end of the tibia. So now we have enough information here to build the skeleton inside the figure. Let's do that, right? Let me see now if there are other questions first. So the transition between the hand and the lower arm. Yeah, so I'm gonna go over that in a while. I'm gonna finish this, right, and then we're gonna look at that detail, this part in here, right? So okay, good. So remember, you can always also subscribe to Patreon, my Patreon account, where you have a lot of videos now. There are about 50 videos where I discuss all these things, right? And also my YouTube channel, right? So now here is the sternum. I'm blocking the sternum. Actually, before we block in the sternum, let's block in the rib cage, right? So the rib cage, this is the top of the rib cage from the front, right? And the rib cage is at an angle like this. So let me show you. This is the rib cage, right? On the side view, right? The side view of the rib cage like this, right? Sorry, here. The side view of the rib cage is like this, right? And now I have here, this is the pelvis like this, right? Now this is the neck, it's the head like this, right? This is the front, and this is the back. So the top of the rib cage is at an angle like that. So now when I draw the top of the rib cage, I want to have this oval going up like this toward the level of the base of the, where the trapezius basically connect with the neck, more or less, that is there, right? Now this here, right, is the end of the rib cage where I have this change of angle from here to here. What I want to do, I go here, mark this point in here, and then as I draw the profile of the rib cage, I don't want to go over the profile of the figure because that's going to be fat and muscle and skin on top of the rib cage. So I need to leave some space in here, right, like this, right? And from here I go up there like that, right? So that is going to be the rib cage. As you can see, the rib cage tapers, right, as it goes up, because here I'm going to have all sorts of muscle on top. So when we look at the rib cage, the rib cage looks like it's going in like this. When we at the muscle, then the torso goes out like that. But this upper portion that fans out is created by the muscle, right? So now here and here, I had the rib cage, and then from here to here, the costal arch, the sternum. It looks a little bit too long, so I probably should do this here like this, right? There you go. And now that's the back of the rib cage. Here I have now the cervical spine. This is going to be the cranial volume right here. And this is the facial volume with the nose is here, the brow ridge is here, right? And then the mouth is here, right? And the orbits are gonna be here like this, right? That would be the skull, very, quickly down. This is the zygomatic, like this, right? And this is the nose. Very quickly, right? So this is now the anterior superior iliac spine, anterior superior iliac spine, iliac crest, right? So the iliac crest, I'm gonna draw it in this case as just one uninterrupted line, but in reality, the iliac crest, here, see that, stops at the sacrum and then the arrow starts, but I'm gonna go over like this, see that, from here to here to here, because we don't need a skeleton that is too realistic, right? We just need a structure that can be, has to be correct structurally, but we don't need all the anatomical details for this, right? Now, from here, right, from the side of the iliac crest, I'm going to go down here, right? Remember, we've seen how, this is a male pelvis, but the genitals are going to be here, right? The genitals are going to be here. So the end of the genital, in this case, the vagina, is going to be flat with the bottom of the pelvis. So when I see the end of the vagina here, I'm going to have also it's at the level of the base of the pelvis. So now, here, and here like this, right? Now from here to here, I connect these two via the pubic bone, so here. This would represent this, see that? This. It's all bumpy, but I don't care. I don't care. We just need to have this very, very synthetic. It's a structural visualization of the form of the body. Now, at the level, now we need to connect, to attach the legs to the pelvis, right? As you have noticed, I started from here, right? And then blocking the head, block these two. So I privilege this when I draw the figure, because this structure, this is the axial skeleton, right? Is where the legs start from. So I don't want to start from the legs or from the arms, because then I had to go backward, right? Meaning this is the most important part of the body from which all other parts stem, right? Head, arms, and legs. And if I get this properly proportioned, I can then use this to measure all the other parts of the body. Also, now I'm not going from here to the arms. I'm going to go directly to the legs, because the legs give me the connection with the ground. They give me two things, right? They give me the correct proportion between the upper part and the lower part. So I know that now the legs and the torso are proportionally correct in relation to each other, but also I can position the legs in the right place. So I can capture the balance, the dynamism, the whatever, right? The proportion of the figure. Let's connect now attach the legs to the pelvis. So the acetabulum, which is the joint, this joint in here, see that here, like this, right? Where the head of the humerus goes, is, the base of it is at the level of the pubic bone, see that? And the top is halfway between the pubic bone and the iliac spine. So, pubic bone, iliac spine, halfway between the two, base, so this is the joint, here and here. Now, this is the trochanter, the bump is there, the trochanter, right? This is now the bump, the trochanter, and that's the neck, like that, right? Now, from here, I want the trochanter to be slightly lower than the top of the femur. This is always down at an angle like that. Now from here, so the trochanter is just very close to the surface, right? Just under the skin and fascia here. This is now the knee. You see how the knee is not in the middle like this, right? It is turned because the leg is slightly rotated outward, which means that now, if I see the joint, let's draw a diagram, a schematic view of the joint right here, right? See from the front, this is the end of the femur, like this, right? And this is the top of the tibia, like this. This is the patella, or kneecap, right? So if I look at this, if I rotate them slightly, what I'm going to see this. I'm going to see a cylinder here, right? And a block of soap. Imagine a block of soap here, right? And then the patella is going to be here now, right? Off center, makes sense. So this is the femur, and this is the tibia. So this is now the patella, like that, on top of the joint. So this is the patella. This is now the side, right, of the knee here. It is the side of the block of the tibia, right? Block of the femur, block of the tibia. That's the top of the tibia, and that's the end of the femur. So now, from here to here, I draw the femur. So I have the starting point, ending point. Down here, right, you see this, right? That's the shin, right? The shin that ends with the medial malleolus, like this, right? Now I have, and of course on the other side, I'm gonna make the femur a little bit bigger, like this, right? On the other side here, I'm gonna have the fibula here and here, like this. So now, same thing here, right? This is the end of the femur, this is the top of the tibia, and the tuberosity of the tibia is there. This is the patella, and this is now the shaft of the femur. And from here, I'm gonna go down with the tibia to the medial malleolus, right? Heel. We're not gonna get into the foot too much, right? Here like this, right? So now we're blocking the arms, right? So head of the femur. How do I find that? As of the humerus, right? How do I find that? You see this bumping here? Looks like there's a tennis ball under there, right? Here. That's the head of the humerus, right? Here and here, like this, right? Now, this line here that goes down like this is at the end of the clavicle or the collarbone here, right? There is the acromion. That's the acromion here and here. The acromion comes from the scapula, from the back, and connects to the front with the clavicle. So now, there's a bump in here, usually, a little bump in here, right? It's the joint. It's called acromioclavicular joint, or AC joint, right? And past that, there is the acromion. The acromion is always going down a little bit at an angle like that. See this, right? And below that, like a roof, see that? This makes a roof over the head of the humerus. Now, this, when I find this change of angle, remember, I see the end of the humerus. Now, I'm blocking here now the shaft of the humerus, like this, right? And then here, and then we are getting to Curtis arteries. We're getting to discuss the connection between the lower arm and the hand, right? So let me get the bone, right? So you can see how, actually, let me zoom out here like this, right? So you can see how the, so let me get the other arm. This is the other arm. See how here, right? This is the right arm, right? This is the right arm. So we have the change of angle. See that here? To here, right? See this, right? And there's a little bit of a bump in here, right? So that's this, right? The ulna is on the inside always, right? And the ulna goes to the side of the pinky. See that? Goes to the side of the pinky. the radius is always outside and go to the side of the thumb, right? It helps to remember the difference between radius and ulna, like thinking which side they go, because then we can follow their path, right? Like this. So the ulna is fixed. See that? It flexes, extends, but does not rotate like this, does not supinate or pronate. The radius instead does both flexion and extension, see that? But because of the joint is looser compared to the joint of the ulna, see that how tight this is, right? This can also do pronation, supination, see that? And look at the ulna, right? Look at the ulna, it doesn't move, see that? The ulna is an axis. The axis along which the radius radiates around, right? So now, I'm going quickly to see the skeleton of the hand, right? If I have the position of the forearm in relation to the hand in 3 positions. Now, if I have now the hand in supination like this, right? See that? If I go from supination, in supination, the bones of the forearm are parallel, right? See that? If I go halfway between supination and pronation, now see the thumb here, right? The thumb, to the end, the extremities, the distal extremities of the forearm, the bones of forearm, overlap. As I go from halfway pronation supination to pronation, then the bones cross. And now I have the inside, the radius, and the outside, the ulna, at the end, not at the elbow, right? So now let's see what happens here now, right? Lobo lunar. Sir, do you only do these lives on Saturday? Usually, yeah, because the rest of the week, the week I work, I teach, and that's when I have the time. But all of these are going to be visible on my Patreon account, right? So all the recordings are gonna be there, right? So remember also that my 3rd book, which is, I have a copy like this, right? Here, a preview copy, is gonna come out on December 10th, right? So, and a lot of these things are also included in this book, right? So anyway, so now we have the ulna start from here, right? And the ulna goes on the side of the pinky, which is, in this case, on the other side of the hand. So the ulna will go down here, right? But what we see here is the radius, because this is the thumb. So the radius starts from here, and now I overlap the two. Like that. Makes sense? So now here I have, in the hand, we can subdivide the hand in this segment. Right? This is the carpus and metacarpus. Right? The carpus is about 1/3. This is the palm. This part in here is the carpus. This part in here is the metacarpus. So see that? This is the palm of the hand, right? Let me enlarge this again, right? This is the carpal bones, 8 carpal bones, and these are metacarpal bones, right? Carpus and metacarpus. So now, here I have the metacarpal. This is the finger, the digits, right? Like this, and I'm gonna have the 4 digits like this, plus the thumb, which is attached here on the side here, like this, right? Like that, right? So now let's see what happens here, right? What happens here? Now I have the change of angle here, more or less, right? From here to here, I have something that is visible here, the transition. So that's, I'm going to call that the end of the humerus, right? From here to here is the humerus, the shaft of the humerus. Now, with the palm like this, in supination, when the thumb is outside, the bones of the forearm are going to be parallel, right? Now, I start with the ulna because it's the one that is more tightly connected with the humerus, right here, and I go to the side of the pinky, more or less here. So remember this, the ulna, so this is this, right? That little bump is the end of the ulna, right? And this is the radius, right? Like that, right? Now, from here, I'm gonna block in the radius, and the radius goes down like this to the wrist. And now I have ulna and radius, okay? So, and that's the skeleton. So on this skeleton here now, we can block in the muscle, right? Block in the muscles. I don't think we have time to do the whole muscle, so I'm going to let me see if there's some more questions, right? Just a second, because I would do the muscle next time we have a live, right? Because it would take, I don't want to rush it, right? This is basically how we reconstruct the skeleton, right? From this, looking at the external figure. So let's go over the landmark one more time, right? And then I'm gonna mark them with red. So this is the sternal notch, right? The pit of the neck, right? It would be, let's see what it is in the model. It's here, see that? Here. And you see these two lines in here? That's the sternocleidomastoid. So if I know what that is, I know how to position the sternocleidomastoid properly. This is the clavicle, right? So I'm blocking the clavicle here, right? Red, like this, right? And here, right? And this is the acromion. That's the end of the scapula that comes forward, like that. So these are all landmarks because they are visible. Sternum is visible. Costal arch is also visible, right? We're gonna see the costal arch. Sometimes the costal arch is more or less visible, depend, but you see this line here and this line here, right? Marking here, right? That is the costal arch from here up to here, like this. This is the linea alba, right? This is the linea alba. The linea alba is a soft tissue. It's a soft landmark. It goes from the end of the sternum to the pubic bone. Along this line, I'm gonna find the navel, down like that. And this is important because actually, let me show you just to anticipate a little bit, right? The things that we will be doing with the next slide, right? Okay, so the linea alba, right, is a line that would go from this point in here to this point in here. Along the linea alba, and actually I'm gonna do this now, right? I'm gonna put a white piece of paper under here so you can see it, right? So the linea alba, right, will run here, and the rectus abdominis is divided by this linea alba here, right? It's a tendon fascia. It's not a separate structure. It's part of the whole muscle of the rectus abdominis, etc. So, so that is a soft landmark, right? The nipple is also a soft landmark, right? In here, what I did, I put first the deep layer, which is the pectoralis muscle, right? And in here, on top of the pectoralis, I put the breast, and you can see the passage. See that from this is the pectoralis, right here, like this. See that here, and this portion here is this. The mammary gland is on top of that, right? On top of that, so we're gonna have this layering of forms like that, right? So now, pubic bone here like this, iliac spine and iliac spine like this. So let's still look at the iliac spines. Iliac spines are here and here, right? There is 8 iliac spines, but for now we worry only about these. This is the pubic bone, right? The pubic bone is very important because it kind of the center of the body, right? But it kind of so therefore I can use it to appreciate how big the upper half is in relation to the lower half of the body, right? So for example, when we draw a quick figure, right, quick sketch, I draw the figure like this, right? I block in the main volume of the body like this, right? And imagine we're copying in studio now, in a studio with the model, right? And I have in maybe here the arms, etc. Now that's the pubic bone. What is the pubic bone in the figure? Again, it's about a little bit above the genital, right? So now, if that's the midpoint, I can do this now and bring this down, right? And now I'm going to have the pose, see that? And then to this, if I know where all the landmarks are, right? Iliac spine, pubic bone, inguinal ligament, and this is going to be the thigh, like this, see that here? That's the knee, right? This is the calf. And this is going to be the other leg, moving back like that, right? So we can block in here these, the figure very, very quickly, right? With just a few marks in less than 30 seconds, blocking a quick scaffolding like that, right? So, meaning when you do this, we need to be deliberate, slow, look where everything is, right? But then once we know where things are, we can move much more quickly and efficiently, right? So this is now the trochanter, which is you're going to feel the trochanter on the side of the hips, right? You feel the bone there, right? So this is visible mostly from the side or from the back, not so much from the front, because you can see here from the front. So this would be the trochanter, right? This is trochanter, see that here and here, right? But from the front, I'm going to have the tensor fascia lata, a muscle here and here in front of it, so we don't see it, right? We don't see it there, like that, right? But if I move to the side, I will see it. I will see it, right? I have a picture. Let me show you a picture. Vorrei put it here. Okay. So here, right? Let me show you, right? On the side, right? This is a the side view, and you see how this is the iliac crest. See that? This is the gluteus medius. That's the trochanter. That's the tensor fascia lata, right? The tensor fascia lata now, which is this muscle here, right? Is not covering that anymore, right? But from the front, I wouldn't see it because it's just behind the corner. So when you see here, right, an egg-shaped kind of form, see that? That's the greater trochanter. That's the tendon of the gluteus medius, and that is the gluteus, right? See the rib cage, right? Rib cage here, right? End of the rib cage, etc., etc. So now patella or kneecap, right? That's another important landmark here and here, right? Because this gives us access to more or less halfway the length of the leg. So the leg, you can start measuring it from the root of the leg, which is about here, right? Here like this, right? Here and here. And that would be a little bit lower than the iliac spine, a little bit higher than the pubic bone, and that's the thigh, right? And as you measure at the bottom, when you are at the bottom of the patella, you are more or less at the level of the end of the thigh. Below here, I have the tuberosity of the tibia, a little bump in here, which is visible as a, as I show you in the picture here, there's a V here, see that's a V, and the end of that V, there is the tuberosity of the tibia, here and here, right? Then here, I have the medial malleolus, right? And on the other side, I have the lateral malleolus. So the medial malleolus is created, is at the end of the tibia. So the tibia here, this portion of the tibia is also visible. That's the shin, right? This is also a landmark, right? And it connects, see that it connects the head of the tibia, which is here, just below. This is the femur, right? This is line here. This line here is the joint here, right? Now, below that, here, I have the tuberosity of the tibia. Now, this is the femur right here, which I see, right? And this is the tibia, the side of the tibia, right? Now, from here, I have this shadow here, goes down like this and connect with the medial malleolus, which is the hand of the tibia. And now I have that. So, here, I have the medial and lateral epicondyles, which are barely visible here, right? This is the radius, right? That's the radius here. And the lateral epicondyle, we don't see it here because there's a muscle in front of it, the brachioradialis, we don't see it, right? So head of the humerus here, head of the humerus here like this, and then the lateral and medial extremities of the radius and ulna, right? So, so next week, I would like to continue this, right, and put the muscles on top of this scaffolding. If you want, you can try to do it yourself. Practice drawing this, right, and see what happens, right? See what happens. So, if you don't have any questions, oh wait, there's a question, right? The abdomen is the same in both male and female bodies. Well, it's there are differences, right? In the sense that the male here, right? The male in so this area here, right? In general, right? This area here. In women, the rib cage tend to be narrower than the pelvis, right? So we have this accentuated change of angle between here and here, which in men tend to be straighter, right? That's one thing, right? And then here, at the level of the, just above the inguinal ligament like this here, we're going to have, in men, two passages here for the cremaster, right? A muscle that follow the spermatic duct, and it goes to the testicle. So women don't have the passage because it's no testicle, right? So there are differences. Between male and female. So the pelvis again is wider and in women than in men, and that. So, but in terms of all the other muscle, they're pretty much the same. All the other structure pretty much the same. The change in the skeletal structure and this connected with the reproductive organs, right? So. But as we develop this next week again, we can get into that, right? So good. So thank you for showing up with such great number, and I'll see you next time, probably in a week or two. And actually, next week I can, because I have a workshop in Washington D.C. and the following week I have another workshop in Montclair, New Jersey. So. I cannot do it on Saturday and Sunday, but maybe I can do it on Friday morning. We'll see, right? So I try to do it on Friday morning, either next Friday or the following Friday, right? So probably next Friday. No, wait a second. Anyway, I had to think about it. So probably I'm gonna have another live on next Friday or the following Friday. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. See you next week.